noise!
Welcome back to the next part of this Truth and Rhythm episode. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. If you've already done so, please share it with friends. Also become a member by joining Truth and Rhythm on Patreon, or consider donating at funkandstuff.net. Thank you so much for your interest and support. Enjoy. Hey, before we get started with today's show, I just want to draw your attention to new merchandise. Funk and Stuff and Truth and Rhythm designs are in, and they look pretty darn cool. So show your support, help support the program, and show off some stylish merchandise and apparel. Only at the Funk and Stuff store. For those who are watching and listening who haven't seen Defunct, explain to us, or explain to them, what a Defunct show was like back in the 80s and what one might be like today.
Well, basically they're sort of the same. High energy. I mean, we were famous. We would play 2 or 3 hour sets. I mean, a Defunct show at the Knitting Factory, we would play 4 or 5 hours. But this is in the tradition of the great funksters, from James Brown to George Clinton. You know, it's not a 45-minute set. It's a 2 hour set or a 3 hour set.
One groove might be 45 minutes.
Right, there you go. You got to let it develop.
Yeah.
So, but the show is always explosive, and it's still, I still like to say it's explosive. My most recent tour in 2019, I used 2 bass players, Kim Clark and a super bass player from Mauritius who's living in Paris named Lindley Monty, who's on the Mastervolt album. But he plays bass and keyboards, and this was a total, I can't understand why these big record companies, this is some total unique sound. I had 2 bass players, one playing keyboards and bass, and it's total unique sound. I had a baritone sax, and it was, and no guitarist. This was great, and so I mean, Defunct has always been evolving. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't know how we have evolved because the documentation is not wasn't mainstream.
Yeah, well, we're hoping to help correct
that. Right, there's a lot of videos out there, YouTubes and stuff, but that's probably my only regret, that we never really got mainstream coverage. Well, I don't know if it's a regret because I'm still breathing, so I can't complain. So
you mentioned Kim, Joe. She's been around with you for so long. What is it about her style and what she brings to the mix that, you know, has just enamored her to you all this time?
Absolutely. She's a totally unique, you know, insane woman, and I love her. She brings a unique slap style to the bass that it's hard to find anybody that, you know, can reproduce that. But and Kim has always been loyal. She's been on stage with me for more than 40 years, and we still continue to tour together. When I get another tour, I'll call Kim, because Kim is reliable, unique, and she's funky. She's the funkiest woman in the world. That's the way I introduce her when we do the shows. The funkiest woman in the world, Kim Clark.
Yeah, it's great too, because you were talking before about how, blending races and all that, but also genders and just everything, should be part of the whole mix and not even think about it.
Right. Well, it's one world. I mean, I've been preaching this one world, one people. We're all just, we're all here together. Let's make the best of it. Let's do it together. And basically, I mean, Defunct has been preaching that unity and one world since the beginning. And maybe it might be kind of a bizarre way that we preached it, but that's what we're talking about. We had women, we had mixed races, we've had a potpourri of artists, different persuasions on stage, and but that's what it's about, and that's what makes music interesting, because we come from different corners of the world or different corners of the room, or from different venues, different genres, but it's all good. It's like Duke Ellington's, Duke Ellington said it's only two types of music, bad and good. So when you got the right mix, you can't go wrong. It's got the music. If it's good, it's good.
And I think, although you weren't the top of the Billboard charts, the influence is undeniable. We talked about some of those other 80s groups, right. But also I think even into this century, Joe, you're looking at groups like Galactic or Lettuce or Dumpster Funk or Big Ol' Nasty Get Down or right. Weapon of Choice, Snarky Puppy. It just goes on and on. I think all of them owe some debt and influence from Defunct forward.
I thank you for saying that. I mean, I believe it's true too, but just because we were here then. But I can hear that. I mean, I follow Snarky Puppy. I don't really follow them, but I've heard them. I've heard them live, and I hear a lot of these bands. And hey, I'm honored to be that is an honor in itself. Even if I didn't make the big bucks, okay. I survived, and it's an honor to be an influence on generations of musicians. So that's great.
Absolutely. What might be one or two of the most unforgettable live experiences or memories that you could share with us?
Ooh. Well, I guess I have to say my favorite experience was when we opened for James Brown at the Paramount Theater in Staten Island. And when we were performing, the way the stage was set up, it's an old theater. In the backstage, there was like a fire escape staircase that went up to the dressing room. James Brown stood out at the top of those stairs because he could see the stage. He watched our entire show religiously. He watched every bit of our show. Then we finished. We were young guys. We said, "Oh yeah, we kicked ass. We're gonna make James Brown pay." So when James Brown set started, the band opened up, and it was okay, playing some okay song. And then we were like, "Oh, we got this now. We destroyed James." But then when James came out on stage, the band went to another level. The whole show went to another level, and my God, and we were on our knees in the dance floor. I was, James. It was so funky. He gave me my first real funk lesson. But he watched us, he studied me, and then he gave us the greatest lesson I will ever have. And then he kicked our ass. He kicked Defunct's ass so bad. I loved it. But that was a great inspiration, even now, to me, to continue. And it's just that when James Brown took the time to watch me and then destroy me.
Even in the 80s, he was bringing it like that.
Sure. In the 80s, this was the time when James Brown had the problems with the IRS. They took his radio stations and he lost a lot of money, but music is the root. So when he on that stage at that podium, it was about his show business, and that's what he was bringing. I said, "Yes, sir, James, Godfather, sir." But I learned a lot from him that night, and never forget that night.
Wow. Did you ever share any bills with Parliament Funkadelic?
No, I never did that. I wish I would have. I mean, I saw the shows. I never shared any bills with them, and I saw them back in the day. I saw them even in Amsterdam several years ago here. But unfortunately, we never shared a bill with Funkadelic. But how can you? I mean, that's a 4-hour show.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, very few people share the stage. They don't have opening bands for Funkadelic.
No, usually if they did, it was like one of their own side groups.
One of their groups, right?
Yeah.
Brad the Funkenstein or somebody, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I assume never with like Bootsy or any of those others too.
No, I hung out with Maceo and them and the band, and I know Fred Wesley well. I played with Pee Wee Ellis on some other shows of his own here in Europe.
Rest in peace.
I played
Yeah.
with Fred on some shows here. I used to run into Maceo and the band in Germany a lot. They would Defunct would be staying at the same hotel. We would, you know, eat together, talk trash, talk music trash. But Maceo's great also, perfectionist, and always on the money, professional.
Yeah, I think he has an approach to it kind of like yours in a way, because I know I've heard you say that you feel like you have sort of like almost a military approach to being punctual and just getting through the show like it's, you know, very regimented, even though it's loose and free. But, you know, there's certain aspects of it that you need to keep on.
You got it. Right.
And Maceo's like that too. He's all buttoned down. Yeah.
Professional. And I love that. I mean, you got to be, whatever you're doing, you have to do it in a professional manner and be focused. And because that's the only way the people you're going to make believers out of the people. And that's our job, to make believers in the funk.
How did you connect with Candy Dulfer?
Well, you know, I used to come to Holland in the mid-70s, and I would visit the jazz clubs here, and I met her father, Hans Dulfer. This was in the mid-70s, and later on in the 80s, Hans, when Defunct was playing the North Sea Jazz Festival, Hans would bring Candy to our show. She might have been 13 or 14 to check it out, because he really was trying to, you know, feeding her with everything musically he could. When I moved to Holland, the first person I called was Hans Dulfer. You know, I need a gig. And he said, well, come on, just come on, bring her in. And he gave me my first shows in Holland. And eventually I became very close friends with the family, with Hans, his wife, and with Candy. And since then, I've done a few shows with Candy and Hans in Switzerland. I did a show with Candy in Hanover, Germany. But we're all very, very good friends with the family. They're very sweet people, and Candy's doing very well now with the Ladies of Soul and in Holland. And but she's just as kind as she can be, and highly professional.
So you kind of watched her grow up.
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
So you kind of watched her grow up, basically.
Right, from a young teenager, and but now, yeah, she's running the place here in Holland now.
Were you surprised from afar when you saw that she got with Prince and that she was, you know, a professional?
No, I wasn't surprised. Well, because she's first of all, she's beautiful and she can play. What a commercial item she is. And that's where her career really got a boost when she got with Prince, because, I mean, Prince was smart. I mean, at that time, there weren't that many ladies playing like that and that looked that good on stage. So that was, it was a no-brainer for Prince, and a no-brainer. I understood why, and it really helped her career here. catapulted her to stardom because she played with Prince.
Oh yeah, that'll
And
do it.
yeah, right. It catapulted her to the top here in Holland.
Cool. Well, Joe, let's talk about Master Volt now. Finally,
Okay.
you kind of gave us an indication, but why did it take 20 years, basically? I think it's 20 years. My math is right. More than 20 years to come back with another studio record.
Right. It's 20 years, 95. Well, because it's not up to the artist. It's up to the people that want to sponsor you. It's up to the big record companies. I'm not independently wealthy. And so it's not up to me, well, I want to do another studio recording. I need somebody who was, luckily in Holland, I ran into Zip Records, Arthur Herman, who's from San Francisco, and also doing business in Holland. And he came and discovered me, and I got involved with some projects with him. The first of which was Allergy for the US. We made a recording of Allergy for the US in which James Chance was a guest on that record too. And we did a recording here in Holland. After that, Arthur wanted to produce a Defunct record, studio record, which I think is one of my greatest studio productions ever. And so we went to the south of France for 3 weeks. We recorded, had the band living there. We living in the studio, eating together, the perfect studio situation, a swimming pool, I mean, in the countryside of southern France. I mean, this is the first time I had that kind of luxury, and it was beautiful. Because when you get the musicians, everybody just lived there for 3 weeks. That's when you can make some music. Nobody goes home. Nobody goes home to their other commitments or to their families. We were just there to make music, and that was a great feeling. And I think we made some wonderful music. And the reason it took so long is because, like I said, I was being ignored, I guess, by the big companies. But anyway, it's what it is.
Well, what it is a great record, you know, and I definitely encourage viewers and listeners to check it out if they haven't already. But I really love Circus Royale, and you updated Rocket on there.
Right, the updated Rocket 2015.
Yeah.
You know, I got that idea because when I was a kid, Gene Chandler, you remember the singer Gene Chandler?
Yeah.
Rainbow 65, Rainbow 66. And that's what I said, well, I can do Rocket like that too. I can do Rocket 95, Rocket 2015. It's just like a little bumped up version. Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you listened to that Master Vote. I mean, I think it's one of the, and I'm working with some with a lyric writer here in Holland, Hilarious Hofstetter, and we made a great production and a video. A filmmaker here, we did a video. Voodoo Basics, one of the songs on that record. We did a great video from that here in Holland. But
yeah, I mean, it's jazzy and funky, that record.
Right. And that's always been Defunct. A little jazz, a little funk, a little mix it up, and but it's a great production. Like the first record was a good, and that's the thing is, you just need the time and the money to do a great production. Time, money, and a place.
But is that still as critical nowadays when you can, you know, record on, you know, your own equipment and you can push it out through the internet? And is it still, you know, that necessary? Well,
I mean, you can do these remote recordings. I mean, well, they've changed our ears. Think about it. They've changed our ears to where we're used to hearing these, you know, these keyboard bass lines that people that's in the computer. We're used to hearing that now. If you listen to R&B music now, most of it is not live music, not live instruments. So I'm saying we've been conditioned to accept this over a period of 10, 20 years. Now we listen to, and anyway, but our brains have been made to say, okay, this is okay. But for me, I like going to the studio with a band, living together, eating together, rehearsing, making music in the studio. It's nothing like that whole ritual. You can never replace that with doing a remote. I send a bass part over to New York and somebody can put this on. Of course, it'll sound great, but what are we missing? We're missing the humanity in the music. We're missing the cohesion. We love to live together. We're missing all of that. And I'm just glad that, I'll be out of here before they get too technical. It's getting beyond me now, but I think music used to be for people and musicians. I mean, you see the parties George Clinton has on stage. This is not send me a bass line, make a remote recording, or okay, now you put the voice on. I do a lot of stuff like that here, as a matter of fact, to survive. People send me a bass line, make a song, put some lyrics, put the backgrounds. I do that for money. But as far as my music, I like the family concept.
Well, especially when you're talking about funk, I mean, so much of it is about feeding off each other and reacting and responding, and that chemistry and that reaction that happens.
Right, precisely. I'm saying it in Dutch, precise. But no, but exactly, it's a feed off. You got to be in touch with human nature. And I want to know who I'm playing with. I want to feel you. And just like I said, I tell people, I've known Kim Clark for 40 some years. I love to hate her. But that's great because we know each other so well on stage. I don't have to say anything. She knows where I'm going, about what I'm playing or how I'm moving. Just like the old James Brown band, they would just watch his movements. They knew where it was going. You know when the break was, when James throw his hand up, bam, that's it. But
or you're going to be without a paycheck, yeah.
There you go, $50, there you go. But that's a tradition in the chitlin circuit. I experienced that when I was Tyrone Davis band director. All those bands were like that from the South, all these chitlin circuit bands, Little Milton, Tyrone Davis, Johnny Taylor. You play a wrong note, not only would you get fined, Tyrone, he had a pistol in his back pocket. He just let you look at it. And he just turn around and look at you and show you that pistol. That pearl handle 9mm in his back pocket. So, okay, you better get it together. Right. But that's a tradition. That's a discipline. Yeah.
When you're putting stuff together, Joe, how do you decide, whether to throw in a solo or take it in that direction?
Whether to,
when you're on trombone, when you're playing live or even in a studio recording, how do you decide where to put in an actual solo?
Well, that's depending on how I'm designing the song. It's different live, but when you're in the studio, for instance, you make the palette. Well, first of all, in the studio, we're dealing with 4 minutes of time. So within 4 minutes, we got to make a statement. We got to have a chorus. We got to have some verses. We're going to have some solos. Just basic song formula 101. Just the basic song formula. So, and I decide on the solos depending on the song, whether I want to put a guitar solo here or I want to play a trombone solo here. And I've been sort of, especially on the latest records, even the studio records, I sort of reserved myself with the trombone solo, play very little solos or just small ones, but impactful, crazy, but I didn't want to distract from the commercialism of the recording. Does that make any sense? Yeah, I didn't want to draw too much attention away from the song because, okay, now this crazy trombone player, that's taking it all the way to jazz. So I've always been very, cautious of how to place that and just to do just enough, but not too much.
What do you get the most fulfillment out of it? Soloing, accompanying, or vocalizing, or what really does it the most for you?
I get the excitement out of the dance. When the room is dancing, the movement, when that vibration is in you, when that beat is in, infectious beat has everybody. That's what I look for. That's when we're all in, the musicians, the audience, when we're all trapped in that infectious groove. It doesn't get any better than that. It doesn't matter whether you're soloing or singing, but it's in the bass and drums. It's all in the bass and drums. That's where it all begins and ends. And so that's where we keep the people dancing. We keep the people on the floor, and yeah, that's the beginning and the end, the bass and the drums. And even when I write songs, I always start with the bass line. That's where I write from, because that has to be, yeah. Nothing else works if that's not grooving.
Yeah, Defunct definitely was not known for love ballads.
Right. No.
Thankfully. I ask people all the time, and even for me, Joe, it's so hard to really effectively define funk because so much of it is just a feeling. But, what does funk mean to you, and how would you describe it?
Well, for me, funk is rhythm. And it's African. I mean, if we go back and deal with a lot of the dances, the drums and the African dance, this is the beginning of funk. This is funk. This is the roots of funk, which is basically rhythm. That's why I say bass and drums. It's basically rhythm. It's the rhythm aspect. Funk, the rhythm is what makes you move. And the funk has got to be well defined. And most of the time it's defined in Africa with the drums, later with the drums and the bass. But the funk starts there. From James Brown to Fela Kuti, it's all in the groove. The groove is set up first. And then funk, yeah, we deal with lyrics. We deal with stories, simple stories of humanity, of life. Like you got love songs deal with love. Funk deals with shake your booty, shake your ass, with dance. So I guess that's a pretty good description of funk. Funk is rhythm that's making you move. It's dance music. It's groove.
Well, why do you think it is that it's kind of not gotten its promotion and acceptance as a genre unto itself in the same way that maybe soul or rock or country or whatever has?
Well, that's a debatable question. I mean, I don't want to pull the race card, but I think funk is it's too black, it's too groovy, it's too nasty, it's too dirty. But then again, you said, so is Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones. So, I mean, that's not, so I can't use that parallel, but funk I think it's associated a lot with funk, groove, nasty, dirty, get down, And it's not classical, it's not poppy, it's not South Korean pop, it's not boy groups, it's not Motown, which was the first boy groups, but anyway. So funk is just, and it's from the heart. It's music of the ass. It's music of your deepest recesses of your soul, your body, your ass. Basically, if you can't dance, you never appreciate funk. Mm-hmm. You got to know how to move, or you don't get it. Mm-hmm. You have to have whatever your move is, whether it's slight or drastic, but you got to have a connection with your body and funk.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm of the mind that, it should have its notoriety the same as like blues or any of the other genres I mentioned, you know?
Sure. And maybe one day it will, hopefully, but we'll see. We'll see.
Do you think that all true funk has to be on the one, or and if it's not, is it only funky and not pure funk?
That's a good one. Well, then it has to go with how does it make you feel? How does the song make you feel? Even if it's not on the one, some kind of way it has to make you feel. You need to feel that resolution of funk, that deep breath, because funk is the downside of the breath. Inhale, and that could be the one, or that can be the two, or the three. But wherever you lay your breath, wherever you lay your hat, is the funky side. So I mean, yeah, it can be funky. It doesn't have to be on the one. Bootsy says it all, and I mean that's one way of saying it. I like it on the one too, but I've heard some other funky stuff with Kelvin Bell's band, like it's doing some stuff in 7/4, some different time signatures. They're still funky in 5 or 7. It can still be funky. But I would say the most convincing funk is on the one.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the most obvious convincing funk is laid on the one. Yeah.
I think if you're in tune with it, you can hear funk's influence in many different musics, you know, even if it's not pure funk.
Right.
You know.
Absolutely.
Which album are you most proud of, and why?
Okay. Well, I'm proud of the Master Vote because I have been kept out of the mainstream for so long and was still able to come up with a great album. I mean, in my 60s. See, and that's important. I mean, well, it's important to me. So to show you, I am Defunkt. I mean, I believe in it, and even though I never made a ton of money or widespread fame and fortune, but I still made a great record in my 60s. I must have been, what, 65 or something when we did that? Or 63 or 65, I don't know. That was in 2015, well, early 60s, which is in a way quite remarkable for somebody who's been kept out of the mainstream his whole life. But we've been working on the fringes, on the razor's edge, so to speak, my entire career, which we survived, but it definitely was not mainstream attraction, but it was definitely influencing mainstream, like you said.
Oh, yeah. How'd you come up with that title?
Master Vote? Well, it's actually to help one of the lyric writer. That's a concept he came up with, and I thought that was a great title because it sort of exemplifies the resolution of Defunct, evolution of Defunct from then until now. And if I'm not a master of this groove now, I never will be. So Master Vote, there seemed to be a perfect title, and it still has elements in there that you don't hear on a lot of commercial records. I think it's
oh yeah.
It still has the uniqueness, and it's in senior time now. It's in Master Vote time. I mean, I'm not a teenager anymore. I'm not 25, so it has seniority. Master Vote is senior funk.
Well, you know, when you talk about that, Joe, one of the things that really disappoints me is, you know, I'll see sometimes these groups from the 70s maybe that were funk bands, and maybe they come back and they put out a record, but it's not usually that true funk. You know, it's got the edges are sanded off, and there's too much mellow material, and there's some concessions to maybe some trends. And it's like, oh man, why stick to what you do great? And they're not, and also that they're not doing today for the most part.
Right. But you're right, Scott. And listen, but in a way, I'm happy with my life because thanks to Europe, I've been able to survive and still stick to my guns. I still produce music that I believe in and without any concession, unless it's a concession I want to make. But Master Vote is as modern as anything I've ever produced. So I'm happy to be able to say that my life is complete in a way that at least I stuck to my guns. I'm still playing Defunct style.
Absolutely. I mean, personally, it's my favorite Defunct since in America, but you know, that's just me.
That's okay.
So, yeah.
Everybody needs a favorite. I love it. I mean, but that's just like I tell James Brown, my favorite was Cold Sweat, but I wonder what he would say. But it's all good. If you got a favorite, that means there was something good about it. And it touched you. And that's what we try to do. I just want to touch people.
Yeah. What about, do you have any horn playing tips for youngsters that might be coming up or folks considering getting into playing a horn?
Yeah, I would say be yourself. Like my big brother used to tell me, try to develop your own sound. Don't see, because these schools now, they're producing clones. Everybody sounds alike. Everybody has the same training, and as a result, everybody sort of sounds very similar. A great change from the 60s and the 50s and the 40s when there were so many unique styles of horn players. Basically, in those days, you better not sound like anybody else. You're supposed to sound like yourself. The horn should be your extension of your voice. It should be an extension of your vocabulary. It should be totally unique to your voice. That's what I would say to young people. Develop all the technique you can, but create your own voice on your instrument.
Great advice. And I mean, they get all the YouTube videos now so they can find out exactly how to play everything. But yeah, they're just mimicking rather than creating. Yeah.
They're creating. They have to go deep. And what is my voice actually saying? That's the question that young people need to ask themselves. And the question I asked myself, well, because I had great musicians in the family. My brother was a super trumpet player, but I was like, okay, well, I got to be. But he said, be yourself, Joe. I said, okay, be yourself. That's the key to unique. That's the first key to being unique. Be yourself. I mean, it's just like no two pupils are the same and no two fingerprints are the same. No two horn players should sound the same.
Mm-hmm. So I want to mention you have the documentary from a few years ago, which is, yeah, In Groove We Trust. So what prompted the creation of that?
Well, it's because of my association of being in Holland, and there were fortunately some people here that were glad to see me here and found me interesting, even more interesting than they found me in the States. I mean, so there was a lot of interest in doing the filmmaker Robin van Dorens, who's done several other films, but he's a documentary filmmaker. He thought it would be a great idea to do a documentary on me because even when I first got to Holland, there were some short documentaries that the television did when they realized I was living in Holland. Because, you know, for a couple of years after you arrive in a new country, you know, the spotlight is sort of on you. And so I got a lot of attention then, and eventually it culminated in that major documentary. There was a couple small ones before that I think maybe garnered his interest in doing it on me. And also his friend was my lyric writer with Master Vote, Hilarious Hofstadter. So this is all like a little family group here in Holland. Robin, Hilarious, in the Zip Records, and the Dulfer family. Those are my people in Holland, and they kind of helped me to get from one place to another across the street, so to speak.
I got you. Well, it's really well done. I enjoyed it, and I recommend that too.
Great, thank you.
And I really liked it.
I would tell the filmmaker it was great. It was great fun doing it too. I mean, we traveled to the Caribbean. Oh, you saw we went all over to the Caribbean and had some shots of my home in Maryland and with my daughter, and it was. I thought it was very well done, also.
Definitely, and I also like the way it showed, the band members too.
Right.
And gave you some more about them.
Right. Exactly. With John and Kelvin, and it even had a little shot of the new band, the Mastervolt band, toward the end of the film. You could see on there. So.
Yeah, I could definitely see his bass chops that you were talking about.
Right, right. There you go. That's it.
So when you look at what you've done, this incredible journey that you've been on, Joe, what accomplishment, career-wise or musically, are you most proud of?
Oh. Well, I would say from the beginning, my experiences with the Black Artist Group in St. Louis was very important for me and my development. And my first tour with the Black Artist Group, I went to Paris. I was maybe 19, 20 years old. We left St. Louis and went to Paris with Oliver Lake and the Black Artist Group. That was a super experience, as well as the greatest experiences that I've had touring with Defunkt over the years. I've had some super incredible tours. And not only with Defunkt musicians, I worked with a lot of jazz musicians at the same time, with the Ethnic Heritage Ensemble, Kahil El-Zabar, with Adam Rudolph, a lot of jazz groups we worked with simultaneously. While Defunkt was going on, I was still doing other projects at the same time. But my pride and joy, I think, was the Mastervolt production. Because to me, that was something I had been missing, a major production where I said, well, we bring the whole band together, we live together for 3-4 weeks. I went down there 2 times to mix it. So, money, this is the first time I had a chance to do a recording where money was not a big problem. And I've never, I never had that in my whole career. So that was a lot of freedom. I was free to create. So I think that was, to me, that's a major hurdle for me. That was getting over that Mastervolt. That's why I called it Mastervolt, because it encapsulated my career for me.
It only took you 40 years. It only took you 40 years to get that opportunity.
Right, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you. But that's why it's so important. And to be able to sit here and speak about that now is a lot of pride. I have a lot of pride that we did that. I'll tell you something else to change the subject a little bit. I got asked to teach in a jazz conservatory in Italy, which I'll start. At 68 years old, somebody asked me to be a teacher. And I almost laughed at him when he asked me, but they were serious. And so I'm going to start that at the end of November. Just 4 days a week, they fly me to Italy. I teach a master's class and come back home. 4 days a month. So for the whole school year. So I thought that was funny too, but that's all because of what? Defunkt and my history. That's all connected to my whole notoriety with the jazz groups and also with Defunkt over the 40, 50 years of, I would say almost 50 years if we go back before Defunkt started. If we go back to, 1973, 1971, when I went to Paris, that's where the career actually started.
You speak any Italian?
No, not yet. Buono. Mongiano. I know how to ask for food. I'll learn a little bit, I guess.
You speak Dutch?
Klein beetje. I took Dutch and I have a Dutch passport. I had to learn Dutch in school. I just don't practice it a lot because I don't work where I use the language every day. And everybody in Holland speaks English, which is a disadvantage because when they hear my accent, they start speaking English. Maar ik praat wel Nederlands als, klein beetje. But what I need to, I mean, I can count money and I can order my food and I can understand basic conversations. Yes.
Yeah, enough to get by.
Right. Yeah, I get by, and like I said, I had to pass the exam in school to get a Dutch passport. I had to learn the language. So I went to school here for a year and a half just so I could get the dual nationality.
So you're going to be doing this teaching. What else do you see in the near future for you, Joe?
Well, of course, I would like to tour with Defunct some more, and but I need to wait until the situation is right, until I have you know, the last couple of years have been tough with Corona, but before Corona, I was struck with cancer, and I went through 2020 was a lost year for me. I mean, I went to chemotherapy, radiation, 2 surgeries, and I'm just recovering now after that mess. And then the Corona came in. My last tour was in 2019 and in December. And December 31st, I went in the hospital and started chemotherapy. So, but now all that's good. The cancer's gone. They say it's gone. They're pretty sure it's gone. And I'm feeling better now. I'm feeling good and starting to work again. I've done some shows down in Graz at the Conservatory in Austria, and I went to Croatia with some Croatian musicians I work with playing defunct music. And so I'm starting to get active again, but it's starting to pick up slowly. But certainly by next year, I will see another Defunct tour, and with some special guests. And I don't know who that'll be. James Carter said he would love to do it, and I would like to get Vernon Reid to come and do it. But we'll see. We'll see. You know, it's just so you never know who you can get when.
Yeah.
But that's what I would like to do. I would like to get in shape and do another tour, because I like touring. I like performing live. I mean, every live musician loves to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Retirement is a fantasy if you're a musician, I think. You know, you
No,
got to
you
keep
just
doing
die.
it.
Old musicians don't retire, they die.
Yeah.
That's like Johnny Guitar Watson, just fall dead on stage.
Yeah. Well, so glad to hear that you're through, the health challenges. So
Well, thank
very
you.
thankful. And looking forward to you getting out there. I don't know if you'll ever get stateside, but if you should.
Well, actually, before the Corona hit, I was arranging a stateside tour with some of the Parliament Funkadelic people, one of the agents that does their stuff, Chuck Haber in upstate New York. But so I'll try to rekindle that. But the Corona put a stop on all of that for now. But we'll see. We'll see how this Corona, it seems to be back on the comeback now, especially in Europe, on the rise again. The case rise. I don't know what's going on in the States, but hopefully one day I would love to tour the States, and under the right conditions, under good, just basic conditions. I don't need much, just a good stage and a nice hotel, some good food, and I got the musicians are basically still in New York. I can put together a killer band anytime. But I would like to merge some of the New York musicians with some of the musicians I work with here in Europe that are on the Master Vocal record and bring up. But like I said, production is about, and then again, you got to see, I need the sponsorship, the money, the record company. Who's going to pay for a 68-year-old man to go on tour that doesn't have, top 10 hits? Think about that.
Well, that's why here, if you want to see any of the older groups, they're pretty much like unless they are George Clinton, but separate from that, they do these funk fests where they're all like together, and putting them all together, I guess, allows them to be able to package and sell it.
Huh, okay, that's what they're doing. Okay. Well, maybe that's what Haber wanted to do with Defunct. But I mean, that's all open season. I mean, I'm open to everything. I hope something can develop.
Absolutely. And do you think you're going to do more studio work?
Say that again?
I said, do you think you'll do more studio work as well?
Well, I don't know. It's no way for me to say. Of course, I mean, I do. I do solo studio work now, but I would love to have the occasion to bring Defunct back in the studio, of course. That's always a dream. That only thing is missing is the cash. I can't afford to sponsor. I need a record company or somebody to sponsor an event like that, a major production like that, because it's quite expensive to do a really great studio recording. And but hopefully we'll have somebody that will get behind me and say we want to see Defunct again so we're gonna put a couple million behind you and we're gonna do this, Joe. I hope so.
Someone who has some sense and some passion for real music.
Right. We need it. And it's nothing like live music, nothing like it. And you can't take that away, all of the beat boxes, and you can't take away that energy that comes from a live show.
Absolutely.
It's nothing like that. Well, I don't know now with these DJs, I don't get that either, but who am I,
Right. Well, and Defunct, you're talking live. Defunct is live on steroids. It's like super live.
Right. There you go. And that's the energy that I have kept. I've been able to keep that energy, and that's the energy that's part of Defunct.
Yeah.
Live on steroids. There you go.
Hey, well, Joe, it's been so much fun talking to you and hearing all these stories. And, thank you so much for bringing that. I just want to say thank you for bringing the real music on the behalf of everyone watching, listening, and myself. Thank you for all these years of staying faithful to it.
Well, thank you for being a good listener and a promoter of this music, Scott, because we need people like you to let everybody else know that we exist and that there is an alternative to everything. And live will always be live on steroids.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Truth in Rhythm. A big thank you goes out to our guest as well as to you, the viewer and listener. Also, much gratitude to Pleasure for supplying the show's funky opening and closing music. As a reminder, you can always access the complete list of linked shows by episode at funkandstuff.net. I urge you to support this program and receive the extra benefits along with that by subscribing to the Funk and Stuff channel on YouTube and sharing it with funk, R&B, and jazz lovers, joining Truth and Rhythm's membership program at Patreon, submitting a donation at funkandstuff.net, buying Everything is on the One, the First Guide to Funk book at Amazon, shopping at the Funky Things store for cool merchandise at funkandstuff.net, and linking through funkandstuff.net for all of your Amazon purchases. In addition, if you're an artist or anyone seeking proven, results-oriented professional marketing, PR, writing, or editing consultation or production, check out the media services section at funkandstuff.net. Also, I encourage you to drop me a line at scottg@funkandstuff.net. I love the feedback, suggestions, guest requests, appearance and sponsorship inquiries, and just talking about my favorite subject, groove-based music. For now, and as always, this is Scott Dr. GX Goldfine saying, keep on vibing to the rhythm of the one.